right. Thanks for that, Ned. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get started here. Let me actually, I'm gonna turn off my camera just to help with like bandwidth and all that. And then let me start sharing my screen here.
And Andres, while you do, just a quick introduction. So here we have today with us for this SmartSites Lunch and Learn series is Reviews.io. They are one of the biggest, fastest moving players right now in the review management field. Some of my favorite things about them is their features, how they work with Instagram, how they work with videos, and they're just very fast with rolling out these features, I think faster than any of their competitors, how cutting edge they are. I love their widgets. I love their user experience, their designs. These guys do things very well, especially with e-commerce. So Andreas, please take it away.
All right, thank you so much. So yeah, I'll go ahead and just jump in and start sharing my screen here. Okay, guys. And yeah, first I'll just kind of start off describing a little bit about Reviews.io. And what I'll do is I'm actually going to jump in just a second here into some of our actual clients, some of their dashboards to show you what everything kind of looks like on the back end and give you real live examples of how everything works. But to start here, Reviews.io. So I'm not going to go too in depth on this presentation deck. Again, I want to more focus on live examples. But with Reviews.io, we want to extend past just the standard text review. We want to allow your customers to get text, photo, video reviews, and also influencer reviews. And I'll cover what that is a little bit more in the future, later in this call. And text reviews, obviously, you get a high volume of those. Those are great, but photo and video testimonials tend to hold a little bit more weight because they're a little bit more personal. We can show an actual live example of a product used in action, and they're a little bit more relatable that way. Influencer reviews being, testimonials from actual large influencers who could be promoting your brand or even be ambassadors for a client's brand in the future. And then with Reviews.io, we kind of like to think of it as a two-pronged approach. There's on-page and off-page reviews. So on-page obviously being how we're going to get the reviews directly onto the client's website, the standard widgets for product pages and then showing off your company reviews. But beyond that, we want to also show them off-page in things like Google search results, things like seller ratings, Google shopping ratings, even a Google My Business page. And that's where our license with Google actually comes in. And this is one of the big areas where we stand out. Reviews.io is one of just a handful of companies who has the license with Google to get you seller ratings on Google ad campaigns. So essentially what that means is with the company or store reviews that you get, we can send those off to Google and we can get them registered for the seller ratings, which are the snippets that would come up on a seller rating campaign. Why this is an advantage, a couple of reasons. Well, we can help reduce the cost per click on ads. And typically you'll see here, in sometimes just in under a few weeks, we can get new clients and their ad costs down by as much as 15 to 20%. And plus with that, you also get a higher increased conversion rate on the click-through rate and overall a higher quality score on Google. So ultimately, how can we get those reviews working for your clients beyond just their website, but also on the actual search results of Google? So the seller ratings being a big portion of that, but then of course Google shopper ratings as well, where we can have the product ratings displayed in the search results. And with those product ratings, we typically see a 30% revenue uplift. With product reviews, within Google Shopping if we're pushing ratings there. And this is one big benefit we obviously recommend for anybody who is on Google Shopping. Let's get their reviews past just your product pages. But with that said, I don't want to, again, cover too much on this presentation deck. I want to actually jump into a actual client dashboard and then show you how the different features here work. So I've pulled up Grip 6. This is one of our Shopify clients. And this is one of their active dashboards. So the first thing I want to start off by showing you is just the integration library as a whole and all the different places that we can integrate with. And then here you're going to see our integration library. So there's going to be different types of integrations for like e-commerce platforms, CRM platforms, messaging, rewards programs, and so on. First, I'll kind of touch on the e-commerce platforms. These are pretty straightforward. You've probably seen these on other platforms as well. But we have these different plugins depending on what your client is using, like if it's a Shopify store, a Magento, maybe a WooCommerce, for example. And I'll kind of scroll down here to show you the whole list. But with these plugins, essentially, they're giving them step-by-step instructions for how to install their store. So the whole purpose of these is to automate the review collection. What that means is, how can we get invitations being sent out automatically on behalf of the client so they don't always have to come in there and manually send out invitations. And this will sync in their whole product catalog. And so essentially, if somebody plugs in like a Squarespace site or, maybe like a WooCommerce store, anytime somebody places an order on that website, it automatically notifies our side to then send out a review invitation to that customer, whether that be for a product, company review, third-party review, whatever it be. And then that review can automatically come in here to the dashboard for publishing on the website, social media, really whatever you want to. But beyond just e-commerce, we don't just stop there. We also service many like service-based companies as well. So if they're not using Shopify or Magento, no worries at all. We have methods for integrating with other websites using our API connection if they want to do something more custom. Or even if they, in some cases, we have service-based companies who are a little bit lower volume. They're not selling, 100 t-shirts every week, for example. We have manual collection methods as well, such as a booster or a single invitation system where we can send out either a list or individual invitations to one customer at a time. And with the review booster, we can send out like a big bulk list to maybe like 100 people at once to collect a company review. And in rare cases, but sometimes we have our e-commerce stores using the booster as well. Those are the e-commerce platforms in a nutshell. And then the CRM platforms we can integrate with. So we have Salesforce, Intercom, Zendesk, and Gorgeous. Now with these plugins, these are more so for the kind of the notification and managing aspect of reviews. So for example, with Intercom, Zendesk, and Gorgeous, we can create a plugin with those apps so that whenever a review comes in, your customer service teams, if they have any on Zendesk, Slack, Gorgeous, etc., they can be notified of any reviews coming in. We can create tickets on those, and they can respond to those automatically and have them, submit a, like a thank you for leaving a review, hey, would you want to revise your review now that we've, resolved your issue, whatever it is, we can have those reviews pushing to these other locations as well. Plus, with Salesforce and Intercom too, you can actually create unique integration methods where we can send out review invitations from there as well. Or like if you want to have an Intercom review campaign, like we actually use Intercom on our dashboards, but you can ask for review invitations directly within the Intercom app itself. And then some of the other integrations we have, things with messaging platforms. I already kind of covered most of these, but the one that was excluded there was Slack. We can integrate with your Slack again, essentially with the review notifications being pushed there so you can manage them from your Slack. And then in terms of rewards, so if any of your clients are ever using Loyalty Line or Smile.io, these are two big rewards platforms we'd love to work with. So we can create incentive programs for product reviews that are collected with their Loyalty Line or Smile.io accounts. So essentially, we can create unique invitation templates where it's like, hey, leave us a review, get 10, 15, 20 points, etc. Towards your next order with your Loyalty Line or Smile.io account. And this improves, obviously, the conversion rate of any of those invitations being sent out, as we have an incentive for that person to leave a review then. And then we have social network integrations. So Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm going to cover these a little bit more in detail a little bit later in the call. But Facebook, essentially, we can get reviews published to a Facebook page. So any company or product reviews you collect with reviews.io, those are going to have their own unique profile page. I'll show that a little bit later in this call, but we can get those pushed to a Facebook page specifically. Instagram, I'm going to hold off on this because that's its whole other animal, and I'd rather show that kind of on a separate dashboard here. And then Twitter is where we can automatically publish a review post to a Twitter feed if you want to show off your feedback in those locations as well. And marketing-wise, Klaviyo and AutoTrader. I want to kind of focus on Klaviyo though, because this is the really big one where if your client doesn't want to have all of their review invitations, templates, that sort of thing managed within the dashboard here, if they prefer to work out of Klaviyo, they can plug in with Klaviyo and create unique invitation templates through there, or even create unique segmented audiences or post-review campaigns where we send out invitations based on more specific criteria of their post-purchase actions, or we can even create things like thank you emails and so on directly from the Klaviyo. Now I'll switch on over to the email templates. And this is where your customers can then create the templates that are being sent to the customers. So again, we're on GripSits here. You'll see one of their active templates at the moment. And on the right side is where we can create those invitation templates. There's going to be an option for simple and HTML format. Both are very customizable. As you can imagine, the HTML being a lot more customizable in terms of how you want it to look. But just to kind of give you an example of what this looks like, your customers can come in here, create a template for company reviews, product reviews, third-party reviews. So these are all templates depending on what their specific goals are. I think I briefly mentioned this earlier, but if they want to collect company reviews because they have Google ad campaigns and they want to get those seller ratings, great. We recommend using this template here. However, as I mentioned, though, some clients like to have both, an AdWord campaign and Google Shopping campaign, so they want to do a little bit of both. Well, in that case, we recommend our combined template. This actually allows them to leave a company and a product review within a single email invitation. Third-party reviews are going to be reviews collected on other third-party sites. So for example, we can create templates that redirect your customers to a Google My Business page to leave a review, or maybe a Facebook reviews page, Capterra, House, things like that. And I'll show you what that list looks like in a little bit here too. And then Amazon reviews. This is if you want to create invitation templates unique to an Amazon merchant page where people can submit reviews on the merchant page of that particular client. But below that are all the options for customization. This is just a simple format here, guys, but we can customize things like logo, text, buttons. Anything you can really imagine will be customizable here or on the HTML template. For example, we can also add banners to the background if we want to add some additional imagery. We have this write a review button. We can change the button styles and how that looks. We also have an in-email collection form. This is cool because it actually allows the customer to leave a review within the email itself. And this is good, particularly if you want to improve the conversion rate, because instead of taking them to that collector page, we're taking one step out of the process, and that way they can leave their review directly within the email itself. But as you can imagine, the usual customization such as text, button color, text colors, footers, all that's customizable to your liking. And then once that's all said and done, you can save these. You can have multiple templates actually active at the same time if you want to A/B test back and forth to see if one template has a higher conversion than maybe another. And then you can choose when you want these sent out based on the number of days. So those are the templates there. Now, when it comes to asking for the review, so because obviously we're pretty big with e-commerce stores as well, one of the common requirements that some of these e-commerce stores needs is on a collector page to ask for additional questions, criteria, or attributes on a specific product. So let me show you that here. So this is the collector page where they would be leaving the review, assuming we're not doing an in-email collection form. And here we can set up additional prompts. So we can have things like, asking for a net promoter score on that collector page. We can ask for photo and video testimonials. And this is something we always recommend having turned on because these are optional, these are optional prompts. So they don't have to put in this additional information, but photo and video testimonials tend to go a much further way in establishing the feedback for a particular company. But we can also set up those additional questions, as I mentioned. So beyond just a review, we can ask the customer for a star rating question, maybe to rate a specific aspect of the service. In some cases, we've had real estate clients where they'll actually want a review of the company as a whole, but they also want to review maybe a specific agent that helped that particular client. So they'll have an additional star rating question to have a review left on that particular agent. Or as I mentioned, we can have multiple choice questions with different options you can select, or a centered select option. This is one of the ones I mentioned earlier too, where we can have an attribute and have a kind of like a meter on that attribute. So for example, if they're selling t-shirts, how did that product fit you? Was it too small, too big, etc.? Then we can have that information published directly on a widget to give the customer a much better idea of how that particular product is going to fit, so they feel more comfortable making that purchase beforehand. But this is all customizable, and I showed you guys too earlier. We have the integration with our loyalty programs, loyalty line, and Smile.io. In the event that maybe an e-commerce client just doesn't quite have the finances to fund that additional program, but we also have a voucher code set up here where we can create voucher codes. This is particularly good for a Shopify store. But we can create a voucher code incentive program for the product reviews. And this allows us to create a code here with a particular discount amount. And then we can create a description for that. And this comes within the plan itself. They don't have to go out and pay for a separate rewards program. And this way they can still create an incentive to gather reviews. But now what I want to show you guys next is the timeline. So, I kind of just showed you the process of how we integrate, how we create the templates, and how we can collect that data. Now let me show you what it looks like when it's actually coming in, and then I'll show you how we can interact with it. So here on Grip6's timeline, first thing you'll notice is the video reviews coming in here at the top. You can choose to publish these how you see fit. You don't have to publish all these as they come in, but that's of course extra feedback for whether you want it on your social media pages, your profile page with reviews, or on your actual widgets themselves. Below that is where we see the rest of the reviews coming in, and they'll be categorized by each type. Now Grip6, they're collecting basically reviews of all types. So they have company, product, local, third-party sites, and so on. And you'll also see separate sections for like questions if you want to have a Q&A widget directly on your website where people can submit questions and you can post responses to those questions directly from your timeline. But if we come down here and let's go ahead and click on an example like such this one here by George. So with George's review, what we can do, you can post a public reply to George's review. This will go to any relevant widgets that his review is on. Private reply that goes directly to their inbox, or just forwarding it to somebody on the team. We also have buttons for asking for revisions. So if anybody ever leaves a, maybe a poor review, but you're able to resolve the issue with George, we can potentially turn a 1 or 2 star review back into a 4 or 5 star review. And then what I also want to show you too is the reviews.io not dashboard, the profile page. So this is where the reviews will also get submitted beyond just your website. So let me go over to Elephant Stock, type in reviews here. And then if we come down, we'll see that we have the reviews.io profile page. So this is going to be a profile page where your clients, all of their company and product reviews collected with us will be displayed. It's going to have a snippet or a rating of their overall score with us. If we click on that page, it's going to look something like this. So the company, product reviews, and then also you have the option to show your questions on here. Those can all be published on this page. What's cool too is we can allow customers to leave a review here if you want to keep it open, or if you'd prefer to keep it closed off for that particular client just to their invitations, you can do that as well. Photo and video testimonials can be submitted here as well. Then coming down here, all the reviews will be published in a timeline format. The whole idea behind this page is to give your clients' reviews that extra bit of exposure on Google, beyond just the seller ratings that I mentioned before and beyond just the Google shopping. But now what I think I will cover next, guys, is some of the social related features. And this is where things get pretty interesting and I think pretty unique with us. So the first one I'll touch on is the social proof aspect of the reviews that come in. So with any reviews that come in, you have the ability to create unique social proof banners. These are going to be banners where we can turn the review into kind of a more personalized post for social media or for the website. And it's going to be down here on any of the reviews you click on. So like, let's say we want to make a quick feed post. What we can then do is put this review into a banner where this can be customized in a variety of different ways. The first options you'll see here are the patterns that reviews.io provides. And this is a list that we continuously update as we go. So like, let's say we wanted to scroll down and click on, a lot of these are like New Year's and Christmas theme just because of the holidays just passing. But let's say we want to do this confetti one here. We can change the background like that. Or if you want to, your client can use one of their own Instagram photos as the background to this image. They can select from their own Instagram feed or from any Instagram images that they're being mentioned in, maybe that the company is being mentioned from other clients. You can use those as well. There's also a option for custom images where you can upload really whatever you want to as the background. Or if your reviewers are actually submitting photo testimonials, you can use their photo as a background to this image if you want to have that additional piece of social proof and show what a customer is doing and then have their actual text review pasted over that. So beyond that, we can customize things like fonts, review lengths, all that. I won't touch too much on some of those finer details, but once those widgets have, those banners have been created, you can save and download those to Instagram, Facebook, really wherever you want to. You'll notice here on the left side that we have different sizes depending on where you want to post that banner. In some cases, we actually have clients creating Google retargeting ads out of these banners to showcase their feedback in those other avenues as well. That's the social proof feature there in a nutshell. But beyond that too, like if you want to publish these directly to a website, you can create a carousel of these. Let me show you an example of our client beauty bar chocolate.
Hey, Andreas, sorry to interrupt, but I'm actually very curious. Can you show me the Google Ads example? And will it also like have that reviews.io emblem, or could that be removed?
Yeah, so regarding the emblem, I believe on these ones, it's actually non-removable right now. That is, possibly subject to change. On the Google retargeting ads, to be totally honest, guys, I don't have a direct example on hand of that right now. I'd have to go digging. I don't want to, take up too much time pausing this call. But I can try to get one for you guys after this call, if that's okay.
What happens if you just choose the other size in that drop down?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant you wanted me to go find an example like of a live Google retargeting ad right now.
Okay, I see.
Okay, yeah. So this kind of just customizes like how the size of it looks, so that it's it's adjusted to fit the sizing of where you want to post it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, coming back to our client here, Beauty Bar Chocolate, guys, I did just want to show you an example of what the social proof banners would look like posted on a website. And we have a dedicated carousel widget where you can upload these very easily and select which cards you want to choose. But in this case, Beauty Bar Chocolate, this is what theirs looks like on their homepage. And as you can see, it really gives each review kind of its own personality, its own unique touch this way. In their particular case, they're using their own Instagram imagery as the background here. But as I mentioned, you can use the patterns we provide, or you can use the photos actually being submitted from your customers if you'd like. Now, that's the social proof features there. What I then want to cover next is the influence side, and this is coming back to those Instagram integrations I briefly mentioned earlier. This is where things get a little bit more exciting, I think. So we have three aspects to this. There's discover, engage, and publish. First, let's cover on the discover side. Now, on the dashboard timeline, you probably noticed that there were influencers listed on the top right of the screen. And that's where that comes from this page here. So how this works, what we can do is plug in your Instagram, and depending on the emails coming in from like some of the purchases, we can basically determine what the Instagram handle of that particular person is, and then we can give you a list of who those Instagram users are and lay them out depending on how many followers they have. So for example, Grip 6 here, they had Russ, who maybe you guys have heard of him. He's a fairly popular hip hop artist at the moment. He actually left a 5-star product review for one of the purchases he made on their website in the past. And Russ, he's got almost 3.5 million followers, which is great. So we can come in here and then find his particular details, and then it'll give you a way to basically contact Russ directly. And the whole purpose of this tool is to kind of list out the influencers that are making purchases from your client, whether that be a macro or micro influencer, to give them a way to reach out to that person directly, and potentially they can become an ambassador or an advocate for that brand. And as an example here, hey, Russ, would you mind making a post about us once a month, once a week, in exchange for a free belt, a free t-shirt, etc. You can really get as creative with this as you want to, but the whole purpose here is we want to get your clients engaging with who those influencers are, because that could provide a whole another avenue of revenue. If now we can potentially reach an audience of 3 million plus followers who are now viewing your brand on Instagram. That's the first aspect there, the discover portion. And if we come back here to the second aspect, is going to be engage. So this is where we can actually show you guys all of the people mentioning or hashtagging a specific client's brand on Instagram. And then we can select images those images so your client can use them directly on their website. You can also use your own images as well. It doesn't just have to be people mentioning or hashtagging you. You can use your own Instagram imagery. So essentially, we come in here, we give you a layout of all those images. You can request permission to use a particular image. Basically, it'll send a DM, or you can send an email directly to this person saying, hey, can we use your image on a widget directly on our website? Once you gain the permission to use that, the image rights, you can then choose up to 10, 15, 20 images, really whatever you want to. And then we can create a unique widget to showcase that extra bit of imagery or user-generated content on a website. So this is just kind of the layout of where it's done. There's a separate Publish tab where they can actually create the widgets themselves for that. And I'm going to show you in a second what it actually looks like live on a website. But we can have like a collage widget, full page widget, or a carousel. And Grip 6 is a belt company, by the way, which is why you see a bunch of people's pants here. But let me show you actually a live example of what that's going to look like here, guys. So let me go over to Luxy Beauty. I actually really like their particular carousel widget. This is a personal client of mine from Shopify. And we're going to scroll down here towards the bottom. And they're using a combination of the images provided from their own customers along with some of their own Instagram imagery. So they created a carousel here. As you'll see, some of these are the images provided from their Instagram users. This is one of them here. But if we continue to scroll down to, let's find one with products. All right, so this is one with actual products that are being shown in the image. So what we can do is create a link for each particular product that redirects the customer back to the product page. So they're seeing an actual example of what it looks like image-wise and on social media. But then we can have a link for each of those specific products with the actual review count of that product. And then we can click on, let's say, the Shop Now button and be redirected to that product page to then make that purchase for that, for this particular Nose Perfector Rose Gold item here. So, and again, we can do this in a, carousel format. Actually, let me show you also Decor Steel. So what they're doing, they've actually just created an entire shoppable gallery as their homepage for this. And they're using their own Instagram imagery for this. So if somebody doesn't want to go to the product page and just wants to start seeing direct examples of it in action, they just come down here a little bit lower on the homepage. They've actually labeled it as Shop These Photos. And here is their full collage gallery. So like this is one of the items here we can click on here. The towel rack in particular is the item being mentioned here. We can see all the reviews. They've labeled it as Steal It to be fun. We can click on here and then be redirected to that page to steal that item. But that is the influencer feature there in a nutshell, guys. Well, the three aspects of that influencer feature. But yeah, so again, the whole point of this, getting you guys connected with your influencers through Discover so they can be, again, potential advocates and promoters of your brand, engaging with the content that's coming in with those photo submissions on Instagram, whether that be your customers' photos or your own Instagram images, and then publishing those directly onto your website as an additional piece of UGC, and then having your review data connected with that. Now I'll take some time to just cover the widget library. Actually, guys, before I go to the widget library, let me actually cover the third-party review setup. So I want to, obviously I've put a lot of focus into our e-commerce brands, but let me show you some of the other things we can do for any like service-based companies using other platforms. So with reviews.io, you can integrate with other third-party sites here. I'm going to scroll down kind of slowly just to show you the list here. For example, we can integrate with like a Google My Business page, a Facebook page, Etsy, Capterra, Checkatrade, a lot of these different platforms here. So essentially what happens, they click that activate button, it links that account with the dashboard here. And what happens is any reviews you have already posted on these websites will get automatically fed to the timeline. So you can manage and respond to your Google My Business reviews, for example, directly from the reviews.io timeline. Or if you want to respond to your Facebook reviews, you can do that as well. And as I showed you on the email templates a little bit earlier, you can also create unique templates for those locations. And then you can decide how you want that distribution of invitations being sent out. So for example, Group 6 here, they have 90% of their customers being redirected towards the company and or product reviews for reviews.io. The other 10% being redirected to some of their active third-party locations, such as Google My Business. So they can have some of those additional reviews, invitations being sent out to those locations. And the whole purpose here, basically giving you the option to diversify where your reviews are going instead of just having them all going in one location, and giving you the ability to manage everything from one single dashboard. And then just to give you an example of what that looks like in the timeline, and I think I showed you this when I was showing you the categories of reviews, but company, product, local, and so on. So like if we filter by the local reviews here, this is also the third-party reviews. We can show you those other additional third-party platforms, and then we can filter out by, like, let's say Google My Business. And then we can click on this one here by Curtis, and then we can respond to his review directly from here, eliminating the need to constantly sign into another third-party platform to manage those reviews. So again, that's typically something used by like service-based companies who are doing maybe a combination of company review collection, but they also have a big presence on Google My Business. Maybe that's where a lot of their feedback or traffic comes through. So they'll usually typically use those particular features here for those needs. But now with that said, I do want to cover the widget library here. And our widget library, call me biased, but I really think we have some of the best widgets in the game. So we have a ton of different options here. We actually have over 30 different options. First, I want to briefly show you actually our newest widget. We really just released this in the last week. This one is extremely customizable. This is particularly geared towards e-commerce stores. This is where we can display the feedback in a more detailed way. For example, the attributes or the responses to those additional questions that you can ask on your collector pages. All right, sorry about that, guys. All right, so this is the new product page widget we designed. So this one is extremely customizable, and this one actually just allows you to fully customize it within the dashboard itself instead of having to like go into the script necessarily and changing all the code like directly on a Shopify store. And this one, it doesn't have to appear this way. You can change things like the header and how this is labeled. If we can show product attributes here if we want to or not. We can show change things like background color, tip color width, for example. I'm not going to go through all the options here because obviously there's so many. We can change how the reviews display. If we want avatars here for the specific profile of the customer who made the purchase, or if we want to hide that, we can do that too. We can show customer names if we want to. So basically all the little sections you see here on the widget can be fully customized. And this one's really cool because it's also designed to show photo and video testimonials. It doesn't just have to show text reviews. Photo testimonials can be posted here at the top. We can include a Q&A widget here if we want people to leave public questions where you guys can post responses to those directly from the timeline. And I'll go ahead and show you actually a live example of one of these. So let me go to Hout. It's one of our UK-based clients. And I'll show you here because they actually have a video review posted in this one. And this is how they've designed theirs. Theirs is obviously a little bit more simplistic than the really complex one I showed you. But here we can have the text review and then also the video testimonial submitted with that here. But that's one example there. Let me come back to the timeline. I'm getting almost lost here in all my tabs. But let me show you. I actually already showed you guys the social proof widget. But let's come down to, let me go to Cocoa Black. Let me show you some of the homepage widgets. And these don't have to just be for homepage, but so what some of our clients will do if they're collecting a combination of company and product reviews, sometimes what they'll do is they'll have like a widget hosted on their front page to show off the company review feedback. And then of course on the actual individual product pages, they'll have the product reviews shown there. But here on Cocoa Black, they are using one of our floating V2 widgets. This can be clicked to expand it to show all the reviews that are coming in, like so. And they chose a teal color or theme for their stars. All of these themes and colors, by the way, are fully customizable to your brand. You don't have to make any compromise on how the colors or fonts, sizes, things like that look. These are fully adjustable to your liking. And then below that, they're actually using one of our card carousel widgets. And this is another version of the carousel here. We actually have like 5 different versions of the carousel because people love those. But this one in particular has a set of cards that we can create, kind of similar to that social proof one I showed you earlier. But with these cards, we can make the edges rounded, sharp, give them shadows, customize the colors. We can make the the writing white, maybe make the background black instead if we want to. Really, all that's customizable to your liking. But beyond that too, let's say we want to also display the feedback from the third-party sites, and we'll have specific widgets for this. So, for example, we can have a compound widget that shows reviews from multiple platforms instead of just reviews.io. And here in the dashboard, it doesn't look like it's loading it now, but so for example, guys, like this is just showing the reviews.io company reviews here. But we could have an additional column here for like the Google My Business reviews of that particular client. And we could even have a third column for like their Facebook reviews. Actually, let me show you an example of another one kind of similar to this floating one here from Dana. And this is one of our Australia-based clients. They're actually a restaurant. And you'll see that they have a floating widget that's actually showing their feedback from multiple third-party platforms. So here on the left side, we can click to expand this, and we can show the Facebook reviews, Google My Business reviews. They're pretty active on TripAdvisor, and then some of their company reviews with reviews.io. And all of that can be hosted within one single widget in one location. But beyond that, if you ever have a service-based company who maybe doesn't want to have the full-blown, obviously product page widgets, wants to do something a little bit more subtle, we have things like badges that they can just show in the corner of their screen. Things that are a little bit more simplistic, don't take up as much room. Or even if you want to, we can show the review scores in the email signatures of the particular client. If they want to show off their feedback directly within the emails themselves, they can do that as well. But there's going to be a ton of options here. There's even an expert Q&A widget where we have a dedicated Q&A widget that can be hosted on any page of the particular website to have questions coming in, so you can submit responses to those. And then we can also show off things like a vertical widget. There's a ton of options here to choose from. Photo carousel widgets if you want to. We even have a review widget where they can actually leave a review directly after checkout. Once they've placed an order. This is typically used for the company review. So if somebody wants to just collect a company review directly after checkout and then submit a a product review invitation later on, you can do that too as a strategy. But I would show you examples of all these, but I don't want to keep us here for another 30 minutes or so. But even if none of those options are quite good enough, there is an API integration where if you guys are tech savvy enough, if you want to have a client in particular create a unique widget, you guys can create those with the API. Or if you want us to too, we do have custom services where we can create custom widgets for you guys. Just simply submit the specs to us and we'll create those widgets for you. But yeah, guys, I think that's basically covering, most of the big chunks of the features here. As usual, we have our reporting tabs as well, such as showing you in-depth statistics on your review counts. We also have this review insights page where we can show you the breakdown of the keywords that are being shown in reviews. We also have this competitor analysis tool, which I'll briefly actually touch on here because this is pretty cool. With this tool here, your clients can enter up to 3 competitors of their choosing. And I don't think Group 6 is honestly the best example for this, but let me see what they've got going on here. So one of their competitors that they entered was Anton Belts. And let's see. Looks like this feedback is showing a little bit differently, but typically what we can show is monthly organic traffic from those competitors, what their Google ad spend is, and we can even show things like their most popular keywords that people are using to search their particular business. So this can give your client a better idea of what keywords other people are using to search for a similar business, and we can also show things like the technology that they're using. the tech stacks that they're using, and roughly how much you're spending. The whole purpose here is to give your client a better idea of how they stack up against other competitors, in the similar industry. But with that, guys, with all that said, guys, I think that's basically going to cover everything in terms of features. Was there any questions that I can answer for anybody else?
I have a couple, if you don't mind. When you were showing a screen of replying to reviews, and it was like a Google one, showing like kind of published on Google and also published on the reviews.io platform. I think two questions. One, could you confirm that when you replied there, it also replies within Google? And I guess part of that question is, I guess it replies like from the company. So at some aspect, like even say for Yelp, we connect our Yelp business accounts somehow so that when you reply to a Yelp review inside reviews.io, it also replies inside Yelp. And then my second question, or same question or separate question is, I understand like you can't, if you get a bad review, except for replying to it, you can't really do too much with it on the actual like platform like Google or Yelp. But could you hide a bad review on reviews.io? Or similarly, all you could do is reply to them?
Yeah, so good question. So first, just the first part of your question, on a Google My Business page, for example, yes, if you guys submit a response here, it will get published to that Google My Business page automatically. It's going to already be linked with that. So it'll be submitted there with no problem. Actually, to your point with the Yelp is actually a unique scenario. So we do still integrate with them on the third-party review setup, as you saw. But obviously, they made some pretty big changes. I think it was I want to say it was probably 2019 now. So like, for example, Yelp was one of the unique examples. We can't send out invitations there anymore. And I don't believe the response mechanism on the Yelp one works anymore. This is more so if you just want to display your Yelp feedback using one of their reviews.io widgets. But with basically all the other examples here, the responses and the submission of the invitations isn't a problem. But Yelp is one particular unique situation there. And then in terms of the feedback that comes in, how we can respond and like moderate that. So let me show you that here. If we come to like, so obviously, when it comes to like moderation of reviews, that's really only done with with company or product reviews. We can't like take off a Google My Business review, for example, from our dashboard, because that's technically listed on Google My Business. It's technically not our review. But like, let's say we want to click on this one here by Michael. So any reviews that come in, we are required to automatically publish these to the profile page that I showed you publicly on the Google search results. However, if in the event that you get a faulty review, or let's say somebody just comes on the profile page and leaves a review saying, hey, Grip6 sold me a car that's a piece of junk, but obviously they don't sell cars, we have a moderate button here, which allows you to submit a reason for moderation. There's going to be different reasons you can pick from here. But basically, submit this reason to to us. It goes to our moderation team. We'll do a quick investigation, which is typically done in under 24 hours, and we'll get that review removed if it is indeed false, faulty, or just completely irrelevant to a business, if it's mentioning spam, things like that. By default, we have profanity filters set in place to filter out any like profane reviews. There actually is also a profanity filter that you can set up yourself directly here if you want to exclude specific keywords from being mentioned in your reviews. And with the actual publication of reviews, the widgets can be defaulted to only showing the 4- and 5-star reviews. Your customers don't have to show, the negative reviews directly on their website. They have the option to if they want to. It's really just the profile page publicly on Google, where Google technically requires us to show all feedback, and that's just to maintain a level of transparency. And that's what really gives us the license at the end of the day.
Cool. Good answer. Thank you. One other question I have, if you don't mind, totally different question. We do a lot of work with auto dealerships. I saw you have Auto Trader as one of your integrations. It was next to Klaviyo. Not something for now, but do you have like a fact sheet and or some example dealerships that you could send to me directly after this call that I could potentially use?
Yeah, let me go find some examples. I know one of my coworkers has had more experience with those particular clients than I have. So yeah, let me go do some digging and I'll find some examples I can send you over, and I can give some more insight into how that works.
Okay, cool. And I guess and just the way Andreas answered that, a note to everyone: if you guys have a client in a certain niche that you're not sure if reviews.io is good for, or you just want to see some examples, you go ahead and email that to Andreas, let him kind of do the homework and come back to you and say, hey, here's 5 dentists that actually use it, and here's how it looks, and then you could come back to your dentist with that information. It might be helpful.
Yeah, guys, for sure. Yeah, any examples you want me to send over, I'd be more than happy to. We have plenty, so I can show you some examples of similar people using the review setup in like a particular industry.
Cool.
But
any other questions? Okay, I think we could wrap up then. Andreas, just one more time, a big thank you for hosting this and showing us all, all of the features. Seeing it again kind of made me remember why I got so excited about reviews.io the first time I saw it. Just you guys are full of features and just some beautiful work in terms of widgets and UX and everything. So I hope we could get some clients on reviews.io, because I think you guys do have a really great product. So I appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much, Mike. I appreciate you guys having me. And yeah, anything you guys need from me, just let me know. I'll be here as a resource for you guys. But it's a pleasure presenting everything to you guys today.
All right, thanks. Bye.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Bye. Have a good one.
Thank you.